All right. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the weekly Daily podcast. Today is Tuesday, May 30th. I'm getting this done a little bit later than usual, but it's been busy. It's been a busy last week. It's been a fun last week. The nice weather is upon us. The pools are open. And here we are. Glad to be here. If you're watching the video, you might notice I've got a different pair of glasses on today, and that is because last night I dropped my other pair and they broke like the cheapest frames I've ever seen. I think that might be the first time I've dropped them on a hard surface and immediately crumbled. Warby Parker. Might as well be called something weaker. I don't know. My brain could not come up with something funny to say there. But thankfully I have this backup pair. So looking a little bit more regular, a little less flare, a little less color to the frame. But, just a good old rectangular frame. I wonder if there's studies that say like rectangle versus square versus circular, if different shapes of the frames have any effect on eyesight, peripheral. I imagine peripheral. I don't know if these rectangles give me more peripheral vision, so you can really get over there, left, right, cross the street, look both ways type of deal. Who knows? But those did fall. It was an open mic. They fell off. I left them in my car. Multiple people commented that I didn't have my glasses on, and I looked weird. And now my left eye hurts. I don't know if it's because I haven't worn the glasses or if I ate Ben & Jerry's and now I have a sty growing in on the inside of my eyelid. I'm not sure. We'll find out in a couple of days, maybe. But it's been a busy week. It's been a fun week. Like I said, I usually get this done on the weekend. I've just been busy with stuff, doing shows, doing things, so that's been good. Hopefully my the way I'm sitting here isn't awkward with the shorts on. There hasn't been enough summer to get a thigh tan yet, so apologies in advance. But no, busy week so far. It's been good. I've been working through some new stuff, as I've said in the last couple episodes. So going to a lot of mics, trying to work through material. What'd I do? Last Monday, I think I went to what did I go to? I went to a couple open mics last Monday and started running a new joke, which I'm still working on. It's a story, and it's one of those weird ones where I'm excited about it. I feel like I've worked it out, but I'm getting mixed reviews, which obviously with stand-up, with this art form, our input is the audience. And if the audience isn't laughing, then at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you believe in it. It's probably not a good joke. But this has been a little bit of a oxymoron, if that's the correct terminology, because I feel like people are interpreting it in a way that it's not. And that's been a little bit frustrating. And just to elaborate so it makes sense, it's a story about going deep sea fishing during my brother's bachelor party. And essentially the captain, long story short, the captain was kind of racist. He was, he was just kind of racist. And it's me kind of just explaining the story. Also, he was just a weird dude. He had he was just a very strange guy. And so I'm explaining the story, and I don't know why people. I don't know. It's weird because I'll explain it, and then I feel like people think that I'm being racist, even though I'm just talking about the crazy captain who is racist. I'm not. The only thing that he said. The thing that he said that was racist was he asked us what we were doing there together as a group. We told him it was my brother's bachelor party, and my brother's getting married, and the captain just asked us, he goes, well, is she white? Referring to my brother's wife. And that was very strange, and that's weird. And I say that as part of like, this guy was weird, this is what he said, but it's not like I'm saying something crazy. So I don't know. I got to figure out a way to present it to where people aren't maybe getting this feeling like I'm building tension, racial tension. I don't know. Because I'm not trying to, I don't want to, and I don't feel like I am. But, again, you get input from the audience, and sometimes you got to switch things up and present it in a way that is palatable for everybody. So working through that, excited for that one. Outside of the part that I just mentioned, I feel like I got the story worked out and thinned down and kind of got the beats to it and kind of a callback for it. So we'll see. Still working through it. Probably at the end of this week, I'll know, is it going to work? Is it not? Do I need to put it on the back burner for a little bit? We'll find out. But work that out. I was working on that on Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday. Yeah, what did I do on Tuesday? Yeah, and then Wednesday. Oh, man, I'm trying to remember. It was like forever ago. But Monday went to a couple mics. Tuesday went to... Might have just been one mic because another mic, there was a show. Then Wednesday... went to a couple mics as well. Went to a new, or it's not a new one, but it's the first time I've ever gone. Hard Rock Cafe. There's like a mixed mic, so they do music. It's mostly music, but you can do comedy there as well. You get a little bit longer time. It was like 6 p.m. Families are like enjoying a dinner, and then you're like, hey, you guys want to hear some jokes? And they didn't tell me they didn't, but their vibe was that they didn't want to hear them. So that was fun. It's always good to do mics like that every once in a while to just remember. Like sometimes nobody wants to listen or hear you, and it's not good to want to do rooms like that, but I think it can be good to do rooms like that occasionally to remember, like, hey, sometimes it's a very difficult room and you have to stay in the pocket. You have to not show any fear or vulnerability. So it's good practice in that sense. It's not super fun, but good for the practice. But that was Wednesday. Did that, then did Rise open mic and Wide Right. I think I did the triple that night. And then Thursday did a show at Looney's Comedy Corner in Colorado Springs. Did Habitual Offenders there. It's like a showcase style show, like once a month on Thursdays. And it was very fun. Apparently, I think the crowd was a little bit lighter than usual. I think there's a bunch of graduations happening for high school, maybe college, probably just high school. And with Memorial Day weekend coming up, I think it was just, a lot of people had stuff going on. But there was still probably 50 or 60 people. They were a fun crowd. It was good. That was my first time doing like an actual showcase at the club there. And then just, the people on the show, a couple of them from Denver, but all the Colorado Springs comics, very nice. It's the smaller scenes a lot of times are a lot more supportive, and it's easier to kind of like hop in and kind of yuck it up with people versus a bigger scene where it's maybe, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just the fact of the matter that smaller scenes, a lot of times everybody's kind of buddies with each other, and the larger you get, there's just so many people, you can't be buddies with everybody, so you kind of have your groups of people. So with that said, a lot of very cool people in the Springs scene. Always enjoy talking to them and seeing them. And yeah, getting down to Looney's, that was fun. I bought a new wireless microphone. I'm trying to up my game when it comes to filming things like this. I feel like this sounds all right. I feel like it sounds pretty good, I think. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know in the comments if you're listening to this on YouTube, on Spotify, in your car, headphones. Let me know how you're listening and if it sounds good. If I need to work on editing a little bit more. But I feel like with the setup I have, I think it's a pretty standard setup, I think, for podcasts, and I think it captures the audio pretty well. But when I'm recording sets that I'm doing stand-up it's not this setup. It's not like I can just bring my audio recorder and have the mic XLR cable go directly into there might be a way that I could do that, but I don't know how to do it. And hooking up with like a club soundboard there's just a bunch of things. So usually what I've done up till recently was, you just have your phone or a camcorder and you use the audio from that device. So it films and records audio at the same time. And, the audio is what it is. It's kind of maybe in the back corner of the room, and it sometimes sounds okay. A lot of times doesn't sound great. So I bought a wireless microphone to kind of clip on to me while I'm on stage. So it gets like a close capture of me and the audio from me. And then there's actually a second microphone with the wireless setup that I got that I can put out in the crowd for laughs, but I'm starting to realize, I've tested it out a couple times, I think I won't need that second one. I think the laughs are captured pretty well from the mic if I put just one mic on me. Now, the thing is, just wearing that wireless mic, it's kind of it's like a big circular button looking thing. And if you have like a button-up shirt or a pocket in your shirt or something, you can kind of hide it a little bit better. But if not, if I'm just wearing like this t-shirt, it might look a little bit strange. So trying to figure out kind of the different settings and what works best capturing the audio, but what works best outfit-wise and what I can wear to hide it as best as I can. But I tried that for the first time at Looney's, and it was pretty good. I made the mistake of it's got settings where you can put like noise reduction on, so you can just record normally, and then there's like a low noise reduction and a high noise reduction. Essentially, in layman's terms, that cuts out background noise. So if you're going around man on the street style interviewing or vlogging or whatever, the street noise or things going on in the background or whatever you're doing in the background kind of gets cut out a little bit. Now, I don't know why I did that. I think I thought maybe the club would have like an AC unit or something that I would want to drown out that noise, but I didn't really realize, I don't know why, until doing it, that people are laughing, and that's kind of background noise, and it kind of cuts that out. And that's kind of a huge part of getting a good tape and good audio, is getting the people that laugh. If you don't get people that laugh, then that's not even stand-up. That's just a mental tirade on a stage. But you know what? I've done that before too. We all have. That's a very just saying some words into an amplifier with people kind of paying attention and kind of not having a great time. That's happened plenty of times as well. But I tried that at Looney's. Looney's was good. Did like a 12-minute set there. Had a good time. There's some ASL interpreters there, which I think that's the first time I've done a show with an ASL interpreter. There's plenty of shows that I've seen where they have interpreters there, in case somebody's deaf, somebody doing sign language, so they can enjoy the show. I'm not sure if anybody there was deaf. I think they do this every month. It's like a good way to get interpreters out from like the local college, I believe, or local school, or maybe it's just a community of ASL interpreters, so they can get out and practice. But a lot of the comics were riffing on it, just kind of pointing at them and, just trying to riff on the room, trying to say some crazy word or phrase or whatever and see what it looked like. I did not. I just stuck with the jokes. But that was fun. That was the first time doing that. So it's, any and every scenario, it's good to do stand-up in, because the more you do it, the more you're going to have similar scenarios. The more you learn from those scenarios, the better you can do moving forward. Not that it was an issue having ASL interpreters, but just in general, having any sort of element be different. It's good to get more familiar with it. But that was Thursday. Did that on Thursday. Then Friday, I got to host a local show at a brewery in Inglewood, and that was very fun. I haven't been hosting as much recently. I feel comfortable hosting, but I was hosting like 3 or 4 times a month last year, and now I'm hosting. If I host like once every 2 months, that's kind of a pretty good ratio for me at the moment. So not nearly as often, and I would like to get some more shows going to where I'm hosting more regularly and just keeping that muscle, just continuing to work that muscle out. I feel comfortable doing it, but also there's tons that I can get better at. And there's also sometimes you just feel a little more awkward or less comfortable. And so just getting the reps, even for those situations, to figure out, hey, when I'm feeling a little bit weird or off or introverted, not as social, but I have to host the show and kind of bring energy up. How do I get better at doing that? Maybe if I'm not feeling as good. And also it's hosting is just a totally different thing. Hosting when the crowd is hot, which fortunately on Friday the crowd was, I wouldn't say they were hot from the beginning, but they were a good crowd. And they continued to get better throughout the night. So it was a very fun show. They were attentive and listening. And when that happens, it makes it 100 times easier to host because, you're like, all right, they're listening. I can say the things, which is a very different situation from when you start hosting and the show and the crowd is not into it and they're maybe not paying attention. Maybe they're still talking. They're not laughing. Then you kind of get into that mindset of like, oh gosh, they're not enjoying this. And then it's easier to get rattled like that. And then kind of go off script and not have a great set or whatever. I mean, this is something that happens all the time and something that as comedians, similar to any other profession or any other hobby for that matter, the more you do it, the more it becomes the norm or normal. So starting out a hosting set and having the crowd not be attentive and not be into it, that's not like a new thing. That, we all deal with it all the time. So it's not like, oh my gosh, I could never have fathomed this to happen. But, anytime what we're doing on stage is we're telling jokes and we're essentially trying to get approval and laughter from the audience. And if that's not the case because you're going first and a crowd is kind of takes some time, a lot of times for the crowd to kind of become aware, okay, this is the show, this is what's happening, this person's kind of biting the bullet in the host spot to catch us up to speed and get ready for the upcoming comedians on the show. So I don't know really what I was talking about there, but yeah. Either way, it was a good show on Friday. I felt good about the host set. All the comics did very well. It was a fun room. I was excited to be able to do that. Any hosting gigs that anybody has, if anybody needs a host, I would love to do more hosting. I would love to be your guest host if you all need a host. So let me know if that's the case. But that was Friday. Saturday, what did I do Saturday? I went to the Comedy Lounge on Saturday. They had they always have weekend shows. They have like 5 shows a weekend, 2 on Friday, 3 on Saturday. And one of my buddies was on for the weekend. So I went to just go hang out for like the 6 o'clock show. And another comic didn't show up. So I actually got a guest spot on the show, which was cool. And I tried out some new stuff. Like I said before, I'm working through a bunch of new stuff. I didn't try out the deep sea fishing joke. That one's not really hashed out yet. But some of the jokes I was working on previous to the deep sea fishing joke, I threw in there. That tornado joke, a joke about allergies. Those are kind of the main ones. But that was probably 4 minutes of new stuff. I probably did 4 minutes of new stuff, 4 minutes of, not newer stuff, not old stuff, but not stuff that's like very fresh and new. I think the allergy and tornado joke, I don't think I've done those at a show yet. I've done probably 2 to 3 weeks of open mics, working them out. But it was cool to be able to do it at a show and to be able to deliver it how I wanted to deliver, and cool to get laughs off of it. And I also recorded that one with the wireless mic. And this one was it was kind of funny because the one at Looney's, where I used both mics, I had the noise reduction on. But because I had 2 mics, one on me and one in the audience, it still picked up the laughter pretty well. But this time I tried to just do the one mic on my person and see if it would pick up the crowd laughter as well. Just kind of trying to experiment with the settings. But I kept the noise reduction on, so it was just the mic on me. And then it basically, with the noise reduction, kind of cut out. It felt like a lot of the laughs from the crowd, because the crowd's obviously further away and there wasn't a mic also in the crowd. So you live and you learn. That's why I'm, messing around with the settings and stuff to try to figure out what works best. But that was a fun show. Always excited to get on there at the lounge. That's a very cool room. I mean, if you're not familiar with it, if you're one of the 3 comedians listening to this, you're familiar with the Denver Comedy Lounge. If you're not, check it out. If you're in the city looking for something to do on the weekends, Friday or Saturday, they got a bunch of shows. It's a very, very cool environment. It's like a 70-person room. It's in the back of a sake lounge, but the comedy club portion is a legitimate like club setup. You can get drinks and food during the show. It's a really nice ambiance. The stage is it's just super cool. You should check it out if you haven't already. But always cool to get a guest spot there. I'm doing a weekend there, middle of June. I think it's maybe the 16th and 17th, but looking forward to that here in, I guess, is it 2 weeks from now? Maybe it's the 18th and 19th. I'll have to double check. But here in a couple weeks, I'll be doing a weekend there. So I guess all 5 shows. So excited for that. Hopefully I have the wireless mic settings set up so I can record and get some good footage, because would love to get a new tape to be able to submit to festivals and things like that. So yeah, that was Saturday. That was fun. What is today? Today's Tuesday. Sunday. What did I do Sunday? I went to a brunch show on Sunday. There was like a brunch show at Wide Right, a bar that does a bunch of comedy events. Went and checked that out. That was cool. Just kind of a cool hang. Hung out for a little bit. Didn't do much other than that. I got to catch up. I got a lot of shows. Not comedy shows, but like Netflix streaming shows that I've been watching and trying to catch up with. Succession. I know the finale happened like 2 days ago. Don't tell me what happened. I don't know. I got like 3 or 4 more episodes to catch up with. I'm excited for that. I've watched some documentaries, some cult documentaries, some other shows and movies. So, yeah, those are always good. Bunch of shows, comedy shows and Netflix shows. That's basically my life. Starting a new job recently, soon as well, next week. I'll be starting a new job. It's a remote job. I'm excited for it. That's kind of the perfect setup that I'm looking for to be able to work from home. But yesterday, I'm just going through day by day. This really is the weekly daily. Just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is what I did Thursday, Friday. But yesterday was Monday, Memorial Day. I went up to Fort Collins, did the Comedy Fort open mic, and I tested out. Man, I tell you what, I tested out the deep sea fishing joke, and boy, did it not. Good Lord, there's a lot of people there too, and they just stared at me. And I feel bad because, again, that's something that happens all the time. But I don't do a lot of material that builds tension and makes people uncomfortable. I don't talk about politics or religion or anything vulgar, really. I don't talk about race, things like that like can kind of build tension. And you can kind of if you're doing that, then you should know at least that certain rooms or crowds or audiences might have different feelings about it. So you have to be ready for kind of any response. Like, hey, maybe sometimes I say this and people tighten up, but you can't show them that you're affected by that. You got to own the stage. You got to be confident and just confident up there. If you show any fear, then you can lose an audience very quickly. But I'm not doing a bunch of that. I'm not trying to do any of that. But this joke, I guess, has an element that seems to make people feel uncomfortable, and they're kind of giving me that vibe. So as I'm working through it, I felt the need at a couple open mics to kind of address and be like, hey guys, I'm saying another guy was racist and saying weird things. And I'm acknowledging that was bad and weird. I don't know why you guys think it feels like they're putting what he said on me and going, you're the bad guy. So again, it's audience feedback. At the end of the day, if even if I feel like I'm saying it totally normal and the audience is dumb, if all audiences are kind of giving off the same vibe, then I have to take that as what it is and figure out a way to deliver it that doesn't cause audiences to feel that way. So that's part of the game. This one's been a little bit, usually you say something, you go, okay, that was a little bit over the top or this or that. I understand why the audience is acting that way. This is one of the few times where I've been a little bit stubborn. I've been like, no, I think you guys are, I don't want to say dumb, but I think at a lot of open mics or certain places, if they're not listening to the entire thing, maybe their brain is just hearing a couple things that they then assume I'm bad, where it's like, no, you didn't listen to the whole thing. Anyways, that's enough rambling about that joke. That was yesterday. I also went to Irish Rover as well toward the end of the night. So got a couple mics in. Today, like I said, is Tuesday. It's been a productive morning. It's 12:30 now. I got up early. I went and met a buddy, another comedian, Jeremy Cash. We went and did, what do they call it? Like a polar plunge, I guess they call it. I don't know if there has to be snow around for that, because there's not. But I met up with him in Golden. There's like a creek, river, whatever you want to call it, that probably is fed from like the mountains, and probably a bunch of snow that is melting. It was very cold. Hopped in. He's been doing that for a while. It was my first time doing that, and probably ever. I've done cold showers occasionally and messed around with like the cold water benefits. But this was my first time, I think, like purposely jumping in cold water for the sake of like, hey, this is healthy and feels good. And it was chill. It was very cold. I was only in there for probably 5 or 10 seconds. It was not long, but it was better than I thought it would be. I initially stood in the water with my feet in the water, like just up to my ankles. And after like 5 seconds, I had to get out. Like it hurt. My feet hurt from the cold. And I was like, oh, my whole body is not going to do well. But I got in and it felt pretty good. It was kind of in a section where you have to get in, and it's kind of rough water. So you kind of have to hold on to like a rock so you don't get pulled away. And so you're kind of, instead of like jumping in and standing up, you're kind of in, I don't know, like 2 feet of water and kind of like belly facing the bottom. So you're kind of like laying in it. And I kicked, I don't know if you can see, I don't really want to show too much, or it doesn't really matter too much, but I hit my shin and there's a little welt there. And I didn't even notice. I guess it was so cold. I kicked my shin into a rock and then didn't feel it until a couple minutes later. But that was good. Felt nice and refreshed. Hung out with Jeremy for a little bit. We talking about some shows we're trying to set up later in the year. So that'll be fun. Excited for that. Tonight's going to be try to hit a couple mics tonight to work through that deep sea fishing joke. Really want to try to work through this week before starting the new job next week as many jokes as I can. And yeah, really work on that new 10 to 15 minutes. Really want to push out new material and continue to replace older jokes with better jokes and just build the toolbox even more. I think one of my goals this year is to get to an hour of material, which is a lot. Not just an hour of material in general of like memorized jokes, but an hour of material that I'm like, okay, this is good enough. Realistically, being 5 years into comedy, once I get to an hour of material, not all of it's going to be A material, obviously. I mean, if half of it is A material, that would be unbelievable, to be honest. But just trying to get an hour of at least decent jokes, and then from there, obviously, continually trying to replace jokes with better jokes and just get better and better and better until you have kind of an hour of just bulletproof A material. So constantly trying to do that, work through it, get better, and looking forward to doing that. The summer is always fun. I feel more energized. The weather's nice. It's longer days with the sun and with light. So yeah, it's pool season. We got the pool right outside my window here. Thankfully, nobody is in it at the moment, but it's kind of the catch-22 for me in this apartment being right beside the pool. It's kind of like, it's like a centralized position. It's, nice in a lot of ways, but during the summer, you go, oh, right by the pool, that's great. But then everybody gets in the pool and starts playing music and yelling and screaming, and kids that aren't at school anymore, and I'm trying to work right here, and it's just, it can be a lot. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it can be kind of annoying. But being in this centralized area, I'm right beside the laundry room and a bunch of other stuff, so it's not all bad. It could be much worse. Haven't been in the pool in a while. Honestly, I grew up swimming on the swim team. Lifeguard, was around the pool all the time. And it's not that I dislike pools. There for a long time, I've probably mentioned this on a past podcast, but I busted my eardrum when I was 19, I think it was. It was like my last year, I think, lifeguarding. And I went off the diving board and I hit my head really hard on the water, but just I did like a flip and just smacked the water and busted my eardrum. And ever since then, so what happened is I busted my eardrum. I went to the doctor. They said, oh, wow, that's like bad, but it should heal itself. And ultimately, like a month later, I went back there and they're like, oh, it hasn't healed itself. You're going to need to get surgery. So, and I'm trying to think. I actually don't think that, I think it was actually a year. I think they said it would heal. And what they did is they gave me these little earplugs. So during my first year of college, maybe it was my second year of college, every time I took a shower, I would wear this earplug, and I never got in the pool. And after a year, that next summer, when I went back home, I went to the doctor for them to like check on it, and they're like, oh, it hasn't healed at all. You just still have a massive hole in your eardrum. So they ultimately had to do surgery. They pulled like a little piece of skin from my outside ear and taped it to my eardrum. I don't know what they did. They did something. They sewed it in there. And I remember, this is why. Wow, I'm all over the place. So I busted it a year later. The reason that I went back to the doctor to ultimately get surgery is because I went to a water park and got in the water for the first time in probably a year. Like got in a pool where I'm like submerged, not just like shower where it's, I'm not underwater. And I went to this water park And as soon as I got in the water, I felt the water go into my inner ear, which is not a comfortable feeling at all. You're like, oh, that's in there. Those were weird times because I remember like laying on the couch and just because I would lay on the couch sideways and the water would drain, but it wouldn't just like drain like real quick. I just lay there for like an hour, and every like 5 minutes I'd feel like the relief of a drop coming through, and it would be such relief. It was so painful and uncomfortable and obnoxious, but in a weird way that feeling of the release of the drop every 5 minutes was like such a relief, such a good feeling. Sometimes I do that now, like where I'll wonder if I have water in there, and I'll lay sideways on a pillow. And I don't know if it's memories or what, but part of my brain is like, oh, it feels like a drop's going to come. And it never does anymore. But that's what used to happen when that hole wasn't patched up before I got the surgery. I got water in there from the water park, and I would have to let it drain out, and it was very uncomfortable. So because of that, that's when I realized, oh, it's been a year. It must not have healed because the water went straight into my inner ear. That's when I went to the doctor. They did the surgery, and that was a whole thing on its own. I've tried in the past to write jokes about, and I'm still kind of messing around with the idea of just that situation and trying to make it into a joke. But they told me, they did that surgery, and they told me that I couldn't sneeze. They're like, don't sneeze for like a long time. And you're like, okay. I mean, sometimes your body just does it. I don't know how I'm not supposed to do it. But I can't remember exactly, but I think they're like, don't hold it in. They're like, don't sneeze, but if you do, don't hold it in. I think if you like, don't outwardly do it, then it puts more pressure on your ears and can damage it or whatever. So that was an interesting period where you're just like, don't look at the sun, don't breathe in flowers, don't sneeze ever. You could have to get surgery again. But that was when I used to be real into the pools and hanging out at pools, and that really killed the vibe for me. Having a busted eardrum. I've had a lot of weird. I feel like I talked about this in the last podcast, or like one of the earlier ones when I talked about lifeguarding, but I can't remember specifically. Let me know if these are stories that I've already said. It's hard to remember. I ramble way too much, so a lot of times I repeat myself. But also another thing that happened at the pool, 2 diving board things. Busted my eardrum, 1, and actually the year before that, I did a flip off the diving board and swallowed a bee, and it stung me in the throat. And that was a very painful experience. And not only was it painful, but I was working. I was on like a 15-minute break at work, and I got stung in the throat, and then I had to go sit on the lifeguard stand and just like with a, bee stinger in my neck throat swelling up from the inside, and just scanning the pool like, okay, make sure nobody needs help, but also I think that I need help. My throat might close up, and the lifeguard might need his life saved. Who knows? We train on stuff, CPR, the Heimlich, other first aid, but you don't usually, what even is the first aid for a swollen throat from a bee? Is there a technique for that? Just cram some ice cubes into that person's mouth and wait for them to help the throat out? I don't know. But yeah, so the pool is right here beside me. It looks pretty good. Like I said a couple weeks ago, when they first removed the tarp that was over it, there we go. When they first removed the tarp, it was green water. It was water from last year. A lot of mold and algae or whatever green stuff is. And now it's not. It's nice, crisp water. I imagine that it has proper chemicals in there, I would hope. So maybe this will be the summer where I get back into the pool, and we'll find out. I'll let you know. But that's kind of what I've been up to. I got a couple things coming up that I'm excited for. Tomorrow I'm doing up next at Comedy Works, which will be the day that this comes out. So it will be today if you're listening on the first day. But that's like a showcase that Comedy Works does. It's a newer thing they've done in the last couple years where they're allowing B sets at Comedy Works, which if you're not familiar, as far as amateurs go, there's like a system within the club at Comedy Works. And Comedy Works is known as like one of the better clubs in the U.S. So it's very tough to like be a regular at the club. So before you get to regular, they have what's called New Talent Night, which is their kind of farm system. If you're familiar with the minor leagues in baseball, I guess is an analogy, where like you've got all these people trying to make it up the ladder. And the steps are you start at a newbie set, which they call an N. Then from N, you go to a C set, which is a 3-minute set. And then if they deem that you're good enough, you move up to a B set, which is a 4-minute set. And the B set is the last set before they basically, the club will choose from the people in the B sets to pull a couple people every couple years up to almost famous, essentially a regular at the club. With that said, there's probably 100 B sets, 100 C sets. Like there's probably hundreds of those. There's so many people in there. But with that said, the Up Next show that I'm talking about, they select people from the B list to do 7 minutes instead of 4. And essentially showcase, just give comics a little bit longer of a set, an opportunity to showcase a little bit more, some more jokes. It's also at the South Club, which is a little bit different demographic. I'm okay with that, though. I do a lot of clean stuff, so it's not something that I worry about. It's actually probably better for me to do my normal jokes and have them go well with the demographic that may not like some of the more vulgar stuff that does well at the Downtown Club. But yeah, doing that tomorrow. I'm excited for that. That should be fun. That's on Wednesday. On Thursday, I don't think I have anything. But Friday and Saturday, I'm going up to Winter Park, doing a festival at Winter Park, the Winter Park Comedy Festival. Very excited for that. I'll be hosting a show on Friday and then doing a spot on Saturday. Yeah, should be fun. It'll be my first time in Winter Park. I've never been up there. I'm not familiar with a lot of the mountain towns, but looking forward to it. Seems like it's going to be a good time. Yeah, like I said, it'll be my last weekend before I start a new job. So excited to kind of do all this stuff this week and soak in the free time until next week. Then next week we'll start the new job. And yeah, I got a decent month in June as well. Like I said, doing the Denver Comedy Lounge during the middle of the month. I've got a couple other, I think I'm doing maybe 11 shows next month, which is exciting. 5 of those are with the Denver Comedy Lounge. But yeah, anytime I get 10 plus shows, which is not super often, but becoming a little bit more plausible or possible here in the last 6 months or so. So yeah, excited to just be working out new jokes, practicing, getting better, doing showcases, trying to be funny. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with comedy stuff. You know, I haven't read. I haven't been reading. That's been bad. I'm trying to get back into exercise and running with this nice weather. It's kind of getting not too hot, but it's getting hot to where it's actually not that comfortable to run during the middle of the day. I'm getting like sunburn when I go for like a 3-mile run. It's like 30 minutes in the sun and I'm getting burnt, which is kind of embarrassing. But trying to get in the routine. It's always a constant battle of balancing things out in my life with work, with comedy, with exercise, with eating healthy, with all of it, with reading. I mean, it's tough to balance it all, and that's the game we're all playing. The game of how can I balance things to feel the most healthy physically and mentally, to then be able to pursue what I'm trying to pursue with a healthy mindset. Because that's what we all want. Life is great. We're also lucky to be able to have a go at life, to live in this period of time, which, if you look at history, we're so lucky. And not only are we so lucky, I'm so lucky. Anybody born in the United States, or it's pretty incredible how lucky myself and all of us here. And I mean, there's other countries as well, but if you look at, there's certain countries where it's not as good. They're not as fortunate. But not even that. It's okay, well, if it was 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10,000, 1 million years ago, it's a very different existence. So very cool that we get to do this, and just really enjoy trying to figure out how to live your life to the fullest. Pursuing stand-up comedy, trying to be healthy and happy and mentally feeling well, energetic. There's a bunch of stuff. It's cool with where things are at with technology, with science, with studies about things that we can do to optimize how we feel, how we sleep, how we concentrate. And look, I'll be the first to tell you, I talk about it a lot. I'll ramble about it a lot. But it's tough to follow things religiously. So constantly trying to get myself into routines. And I feel like I'm generally in routines, but it's easy to fall on and off routines with exercise, with healthy eating. I'll eat healthy for a week, and then I'll have a bad weekend, which will lead into a bad week of eating, and then kind of the cycle continues. So just the more, I think, the more I can, and I think we can, anybody who's trying to do similar things, the more that we can get into those and try our best to be in those habits, just the better things are. And the better we feel, and the more productive we are, the better we treat others around us. So, just trying to live this life to the fullest, get a couple giggles, make some jokes, make some money, eat some healthy food, and keep on keeping on. So, whatever that last 5 minutes was, I don't know. Have you guys listened to it? Woo, all right. Thanks for getting through it with me. But I'll end it there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. Appreciate you guys as always. As I usually mention, if there's anything that you enjoyed, feel free to leave a comment. If there's anything you want to hear more about, blah, 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 different format, leave a comment. Let me know. But with that said, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you guys again next week.